Hello listeners, and welcome to the Montel Weekly Podcast, bringing you energy matters in an informal setting. In today's pod, we take a close look at Denmark. Danske Commodities is the latest trading firm to post record high profits, following similar earnings boosts at Nordlys and Energi Danmark. At the same time, several traders are suing their former employers over unpaid bonuses, and there are also allegations of market manipulation. What is going on in the Nordic country, which has been a haven for boutique trading companies for many years? Are there concerns of a regulatory backlash as we are in the middle of an energy and cost of living crisis? I'm Richard Sverrisson, and helping me discuss these issues are Houmoller, an independent consultant, and Martin Wied of Green Power Denmark, the association of Danish energy firms. A warm welcome to you both, gentlemen. I hope you're well.
Fine. Thank you.
Excellent. So how is the sentiment at the moment in the Danish energy sector, Martin?
I think there's no doubt about it. It's busy at the moment. There's been a lot of public focus on the sector as a whole. You can say we are like in the spotlight, especially from a customer's point of view. You can say a lot of people look into energy prices and so on, and then the whole rising of prices, of course, had a lot of concern on the the public side. On the other hand, we are a little concerned as a business sector to the impatience about. We are impatient to getting renewable up in the speed which is needed. So at the same time, we are, you can say, at the headlight of the car. At the same time, we want to transform this sector into a green sector where we can have a lot of renewables, which is actually a good thing in concern to the prices. So that's, if you put it short, what the temperature of the sector is at the moment.
We've seen companies post record results this year for 2022. What's your reaction to that?
To the results as a whole, I think it's commonly known if there's a variation in the prices. There's of course is a possibility of what you can say earn money, but at the same time, the traders is actually having a purpose in the market to even out the prices. So of course there's that is what you could say one of the reasons why the earnings had gone up due to the variation of the prices. And you can say the main reason is of course the lack of Russian gas and the dependency of Russian gas. So I think it's what you will see in any market is that if there's a lack of supply, there's a tendency that the prices will go up, and of course there's also an earning opportunity. You see that on the stock market as well. So I think it has something to do to the extraordinary situation we are in, and I think it wouldn't in the long run it would be a different situation.
Certainly an extraordinary year, but and as you can say, no one is blaming these companies for these market prices or the market situation. But you understand that maybe there is some concern when people can't pay their own bills, as you as well mentioned, of course. But Anders, what's your reaction to these bumper profits that we see in Denmark?
I think that we should count us lucky in Denmark that we have so many clever traders. I think it's an opportunity for the country. We have been traders in Denmark for at least 2,000 years, and this only shows us that we are carrying on with the tradition. But I still fear the backlash. Also, politicians in Denmark are discussing whether there should be a special tax for trading companies and stuff like that. And you can simply tax these companies out of the country. Danske Commodities just published their result Wednesday. And they emphasize how much tax they have paid in Denmark. If you tax these companies out of the country, well, then we don't have these taxes anymore. So I'm fearing a backlash, and I think we should count us lucky that we have so many clever traders in Denmark. But of course, these accusations of market manipulations, that also cast a very bad light on the business. We don't know if these charges will stand. We need to emphasize that, but still it casts the business in a bad light.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to that later about the surveillance regime, whether that's fit for purpose and and the regulatory framework on this. But how have the profits been received in Denmark? I'm thinking here of kind of industry or the end users who are paying very, very high bills.
Well, some customers are not receiving it well because they think that these profits they have been made on their account, which they have actually not, because these trading companies they're doing by far the most of their activity in Europe, because the liquidities, the Danish market is far, far too small to carry out this kind of trading. So they are trading mainly in continental Europe, and this is where they harvest these big profits because we have seen this price volatility in continental Europe. So I think it's a bit sad that people think that these profits have been made on their account. They haven't. They have not.
And are the politicians able to explain this, Martin? I mean, it's very clear that in a different world, without the energy crisis and the war, Danske Commodities results will be something to be celebrated, but they seem to be very low-key at the moment. So what's the reactions from the politicians in Denmark?
If I first just can add a little thing to what I agree with what Anders said, of course, but I also think it's dependent on, are you talking about professional customers or you're talking about private customers, because there's a different. I think that companies of course understand more or less the mechanism, but it's difficult. It's difficult to communicate what the traders do in the market for most people. And I think it's the same if in regard to your question about the politicians. I think we have the current government have the majority at the moment. So it's like, I think the opposition is looking for something to like hit the government with. And I think that's what we are seeing now, because these earnings and results from the companies is, especially at the left wing, a cause for trying to make a political case out of it. I think it depends on where you are at the moment at the political range, you can say. But of course it's I think it could easily go into politics, this, because it's consumer issues in the last end, and as Anna said, it isn't actually because they had the traders has a purpose in the market and actually stabilizing the prices, but I think it's very difficult. What we are seeing is like, it's difficult to communicate, and everything is getting mixed together at the moment. Bad cases, different issues, and so on. So it's like you have to communicate this more or less complicated thing in a time where everybody is looking, as I started to say, at this sector. So it's, I think things get mixed together also for the politicians.
I mean, as Anders said, a lot of the profits earned here are outside the Danish borders, but is that being explained properly here?
I think we try, and also what we have seen the same on Wednesday when Danske Commodities came out. They're also trying to explain that in their articles and the television and so on. And I think what we attend as an organization also try to do is to explain the politicians what is actually the facts about this. I think it's the best way around it, but it's difficult stuff sometimes. But we try to make it easy to understand.
Absolutely, we've seen that it's a very political hot potato as given the cost of living crisis. But Anders, Martin mentioned the professional consumers of energy, and that it's like the power intensive industry. How have they reacted in response to these profits, if at all?
We haven't seen any kind of heavy reaction from the professional companies. I formerly worked as a secretary for the Federation of Danish Consumers of Energy. That's the big industrial consumers of electricity and natural gas. They have not really reacted. I think, as Martin says, they understand that these profits are made in Europe, outside in Europe. It's not made on their account. So I haven't really seen anything. But it's true that towards the households, we have a job to explain that. What are the traders actually doing? Well, I used to say the traders are just the oil in the market. The traders are simply the oil. They make buyers and sellers find each other. They help them find each other. And without this oil, the market would not function properly. We would have seen some areas where the prices would have spiked much, much more than what we have seen in 2022. But of course, if you have big problems paying your bills for electricity and gas, and then you see dozens of Danish trading companies having bumper profits, well, of course, your instantaneous reaction is, they have made these profits on my account. Why is this happening? It's not strange. Of course, you react like that. And then we have a pedagogical problem explaining that they're actually acting as oil in the system. They dampen the prices, and they have not made these profits in Denmark.
Before I turn to you, Martin, but someone's paying for this. Someone's, it's not just high market prices causing this. Someone's having to fork out. Someone's losing here. Anders, who could they be?
Well, when you have fluctuating prices, the traders, they don't care if the prices are high or low, as you know. They make profit on fluctuating prices. And then you simply sell when you have a upward spike, and you buy when you have a downward spike. Those traders who actually make money, they are those who correct the prices in the right direction. If you're selling when the prices spike higher than what is a reasonable market price, well, just by selling, you are naturally putting a downward pressure on the price. So if you are a clever trader, if you see the prices are now unreasonable high, then you start selling. And then later on, when the prices go lower, then you start buying, but you are actually correcting the price signal. So who are paying? Well, those traders were stupid. Those who bought when the prices were too high, and those who were selling when we had a downward spike. And of course, this stupid trader who were buying when the prices were too high, that could be a supplier trying to sell to you and me. But at least here in Denmark, the households, they can leave their supplier with 3 months' notice. So if you're a household, if you think your supplier is charging me too high prices, well, then just leave him, go to another supplier. So somebody is losing. Those who are losing are the stupid traders, so who bought when the prices were spiking up. But if this is your supplier, then just leave him.
That's very possible in several other countries in Europe on this. But you were going to add something to that, Martin.
Yeah, I think that it's very important to separate social policy and energy policy. And I think what we are seeing also in Europe is this going to be mixed together. We have seen suggestions about capping the prices and so on. So what Anders just explained about the what you can say the mechanics or the oil in the business is like it's important to not to stop these mechanisms. And I think when you're mixing up social policy with energy policy, of course it's natural because the politicians want to react, but I think it'll have a negative impact on the market when these things get mixed together.
Anders?
Yes, I'll just say I agree completely. And we have a slogan, you should support people. Commodities don't need support. Support people, not commodities. So if the government intervenes and artificially keeps the prices for electricity and gas down, then you're supporting commodities, not people. You should support the people, those who live on the small budgets. They need support when the prices go sky high. And those who are not living on small budgets, they just have to swallow it. They just have to suck it up and pay these high prices for energy. If you artificially are lowering the prices for energy, then you're keeping the consumption high during a period when we have very high prices. And when Putin Putin more or less shuts off the gas, then the prices go high, and then someone must pay. When the prices go high, someone must pay. If the consumers are not paying, then the taxpayers will pay. And that's a stupid solution. Let the consumers pay, and then support those households who are living on the small budgets. Separate social politics. Do not interfere in the market, but support those who are living on the small budgets. That's a very important point which Martin is making.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw Danske as well saying that they expect profits to return to a more normalized level next year. Does that mean, and others as well, does that mean, Martin, we're out of the energy crisis?
I don't want to be looking into the the future in that way. But I think that more and less what you see, at least at the short term, we have been filling up the gas storages. And one point about what Anders just said is also that actually people has acted and made a lot of energy efficiency and saving. So that is also the way the consumer side actually can react. So we have seen that the people got through this period by doing that actually. But as I said before, we also have to increase the speed of putting up renewable very rapidly. And there's just been this meeting in Østend in Belgium where they've been discussing about 300 megawatt putting up renewable. And I think we have to speed that up, because that's one of the solutions, because we have been too much dependent on Russian gas. And when we are pulling that amount out, then of course it has to be trouble in some kind of way. So we have to replace that. And at the moment we are placing on LNG terminals. So that's what you can say, it's short solutions of shipping in the gas. So I think that we have to hurry up the transition.
Absolutely. I mean, before I turn to you on this, I'd just like to ask Martin about, if we return to these record profits, are you worried that there's going to be increased scrutiny of energy companies in Denmark? That there's going to be more people looking at what these companies are doing and how they're earning their money?
I think in every business sector there's a possibility of scrutiny, you can say. I think it's very difficult to say if the amount will increase. You can have this more theoretical answer that if there's more opportunities, more what you can say, people who try their luck will be there. But still, I think we have to have the what you can say, the entry of the market has to be serious players in the market. So I think it's difficult to answer, but we have, of course, to look out for it, and of course there has to be the right supervision in the market, and I think that I don't think we have to regulate more heavily, but I think we have to look into, do we have the right amount of supervision in the market by the regulatory side.
I know you have some strong opinions here on this, about the nature of the surveillance regime across the traded energy markets in Europe. What's your view?
Before going to that, I'll just support Martin. We need to have investor confidence, confidence among the investors who are going to help us with this green transition. And in order to keep this confidence among investors, the politicians should not intervene in the market. They need to help people do not intervene in the market prices. And then to answer your question, yes, we need more. I don't think we need tougher regulation of the trader companies or stuff like that. But I think so you should separate, do we need tougher regulation of the energy companies? No, I don't think that. And I also think that in the European Union we have REMIT and a host of other rules. The rules are okay, the rules are fine. You now need to implement them. The rules are good. We now need to implement the rules. And this is where we are. This is where we are behind. Where we are really behind. Because on the European electricity market, we have hundreds of thousands of trade every day, and the same for the gas market. And in order to surveil a market where you have hundreds of thousands of trades, you can't do that manually. And currently we have more or less 30 exchanges in Europe. And each of these little exchanges, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the resources to surveil the market. Only a pan-European regulator can do that. And of course, even a pan-European regulator, and here we are discussing ASA, even a pan-European regulator cannot manually surveil a market where you daily have more than 100,000 trades. You need some really high-powered statistics. You need some type of artificial intelligence who can come through this enormous amount of numbers and see if there are strange patterns which should not be there. Only an automatic, high-powered IT system can surveil a market with this number of trades. But on the other hand, the big number of trades is also an opportunity, because if intelligent software can see if there are strange patterns in such a huge number of trades. So it's a problem with the huge number of trades you can't surveil manually, but it's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity exactly for IT systems and artificial intelligence. They are tailor-made for this kind of surveillance. But this is going to cost us money. This will cost money. This will cost very, very clever specialists who will build these surveillance systems. And we can only spend this amount of money in a pan-European context. Also because you could, for example, manipulate the spot market, take home the profit on the financial market. So you need to have a cross surveillance across all the markets and see if there is some strange patterns, a company trading strangely. That means we need to have a much, much stronger pan-European market surveillance. And in practice, this means that Asia should have many, many more people, much bigger budgets. We can only hope for a better regulation. We can only hope for a better implementation of the good rules we have if we establish such a pan-European regulator.
Absolutely. And very strong and complex computing to back that up. But I think, in Denmark, there have been controversial bonus payments which have led to sackings and now legal cases. There's allegations of market manipulation. Is there an issue that this could impact the reputation of energy firms in Denmark, Martin? That somehow, what's the lower their ranking in public opinion?
There's no doubt about, as I started to say, that the whole business is in the spotlight, and something like this comes up. We also have smaller cases on the retail side in how you're marketing to your customers and so on. And adding all that up, of course, it's undermining the trust of the sector. So we are of course not happy about these cases. But as Anna said before, nobody has been just judged yet, so we of course had to look. But of course the bonuses, if you take that for instance, we as a sector has made steps to prevent this in the future, of course, because that's not acceptable to have bonuses with no limit. That's we do not support that, and our members don't do that as well. So that's very important to underline.
Absolutely, especially in the backdrop of the cost of living crisis that for and the people that are struggling that Anders mentioned. But do you just sorry, Martin. Yeah,
I just had one thing to what Anna said. I won't comment in detail, but I think we of course are always open to look into solutions and how can we surveillance the market. But I think it's important, if you go into that system, that there's a transparency, that it is not Asia who's like having closed doors, and you are not able to, as a market player, to look into what is actually happening. But if the surveillance is in a transparent way, I think we will look into that with open eyes. But of course, we have to see the current the concrete solution.
A final word, Anders. Do you fear a regulatory backlash in the weeks, months ahead?
Yes, I do. The politicians, also in Denmark, but also elsewhere, they are eyeing these huge profits, and they think that they have been made at the expense of consumers, which is luckily not the case, but we have a pedagogical problem explaining that. So yes, I do fear not a regulatory backlash, but a political backlash.
Certainly to be continued here, gentlemen. But as you say as well, no one's been convicted yet. So that's also important to bear in mind. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining the Montel Weekly podcast.
Thank you very much.